Hello and welcome to Coffee and Bonsai with Tom. Today we're going to work on structural pruning of some raw material. You can see this beautiful beast here. It's a variegated dwarf jade, and it's basically, this came from cutting off the top of some raw material that I've had, and I've just been growing it on since last year. I'll put a link to some of my videos of some of my raw material. I have a bunch of these large variegated jades, and this was the top of one. It basically had no leaves on it at all when I stuck it in this pot, and it has responded quite well. I did this, it's probably been in here 7 or 8 months, so it's recovered pretty well and looking good, and it is time to do some structural pruning and get this thing on its way to becoming a beautiful bonsai. So today we're going to do that, and I'm also going to throw in a few other random prunings. Sometimes I just pick 5 trees and go at it, and we're going to have those in here today too. So hang on, and we will do some structural pruning. So as I look at this, it overall has a nice shape and it looks quite healthy, but you can see this lower branch here. I kind of like the fineness of this one on the left, but this branch on the right is just really thick. And, if I look at the top here, we've just got a lot of long branches. I have just been letting this thing run wild. You can see the tripod stuff I have to hold the cutting in here, and it's grown in quite well. But I think we're going to start by taking off this lower branch because it is just too thick, and I think no matter what I do with it, I will regret not taking that off. So let's get that off of there. It's a big cutting and make a nice tree in and of itself, and yeah, that looks better already. We're left with much finer branches that we can develop that are much more in proportion with the trunk. Let's see, I'm just gonna kind of cut some things back. I'm probably gonna do some Hail Mary cuts on this. I mean, the tree is quite robust and growing quite well, and let me just clean this up. And I found that, if that's the case, and you give them good care and fertilizer, they tend to bud back really well. You can see this cutting, despite not really having a lot of, it has a lot of leaves now. It didn't when I first put it in here. I think it's fairly old, but boy, this is I find if I really kind of shave these smooth, they heal so nicely and you don't even notice anything at all. So that's my goal there. But as I turn this around, we just have a lot of it's really overgrown and kind of shaggy looking, and we're going to tune that up. So I'm going to work on this branch on the left, and I'll just cut it back, and it's the standard stuff. Anything that's growing in towards the center or straight up or straight down, I usually just cut it off. And like I said, I'm gonna just cut some of these branches short. I'm hoping that I'll get a lot of back budding, and then once this thing puts on a lot of new growth, I will just go ahead and choose from those. So I'm kind of I'm gonna do that a fair amount, just leave some branches on there, and we'll see what happens, and then we'll make some new choices with that as we go. And I'm just going to remove some of this stuff that is just going the wrong direction. Like that was straight up, it never would be useful for me at all. Let's see, just kind of cut these back a bit. Sometimes it's a little daunting to work on something so thick. It's almost like you feel like you're working on a juniper. But just keep at it, you can see more, just pruning it back, try to get it more compact, and we will slowly reveal the true beautiful nature of whatever trunk we're going to end up with here by the time we're done. So I've been working a lot on the top, or the bottom here, sorry, and I want to focus a little bit on the top because I can just see some really long branches like this thing. And you know, I've done a fair amount of reduction to the bottom and simplified that. So I want to do something similar to the top here. So I'm just looking at it to see what I want to take off. And this is quite, I mean, look at that. That's really long. So we'll just cut that off. Wow, yeah. And I've got a few more like that in here. And I'm sure I've got some stuff going the wrong way. And, you know, the more you take out, the easier it is to see those. Here's another one that just cuts completely across. I'll just reduce that to a leaf that's pointing in the direction I want. Still quite a bit in here, just going the wrong way. I'm going to shorten this. And yeah, so we're getting some progress on thinning out the top a bit, so at least we can see what is going on there. But it's still quite congested. So one thing I like to do is just, you know, if I don't see the major branches to reduce, like you almost always, when reducing this rough material, that's a big one there we can get rid of, is, you know, take it down to 1 or 2 sets of leaves, you know, because you really want compact growth, and you want to, you know, you're probably growing new branches. This one's cutting across. This one is too long. And, you know, this, I can just kind of cut this back to a couple sets of leaves. And, you know, it's almost always the right thing to do because you're going to get a lot more compact growth. And now we can start seeing, like, what might be the new leader up the front here. I don't know. I'm not completely happy with it, but we'll see. See what we end up with here, but there's still lots of just obvious simplification to do. There's kind of a bunch of branches kind of coming out of this area here, and I'm just gonna take some of those off. Yeah, that's much cleaner. And you know, if you didn't do that, you'd sort of develop a whirl there, and so sometimes it's better just to, you know, that's a little bit better there. Got some zigzag up to the top. But yeah, you know, you really want to get it down to going from 1 to 2 and or less, because otherwise you'll get this ugly thickening that's kind of hard to correct, honestly, without just doing major cutback. So you're better off making your best guess on the 2 that you want and going from there when it comes to pruning branches. And I'm going to reduce some of this thickness here. I think that looks a little better. It's quite a angle we have going there, but I think it'll be okay. Just cut some of this back. You know, sometimes I mean, I do have 3 coming there, but if you make one really weak, it kind of buys you some time if you want to choose that weaker one over a stronger one later on. So it's kind of a trick you can use if you're not really committed to, you know, which one of the 3 branches coming out you want. In this case, I'm going to get rid of that thick one. So I think it just gives the tree some delicate fineness that it needs, and especially in the top, because the top grows very, very strong compared to the rest of the tree, and so you can really cut that back harder. In fact, you should, because you want to encourage the tree to grow on the bottom, and it's actually pretty easy to regrow the entire top in a season or 2 if you end up doing that. This is just way too long out the back. It's kind of hidden by the trunk a bit, so it's not as bad, but I feel like I'm just going to shorten it to this branch that's heading in the right direction I want. And who knows, we probably will end up taking off that back branch altogether, you know, after the tree has a chance to grow a while. But I think, you know, for now, that's a good decision. We'll keep some growth on it. This is a bit long, especially for being near the top, so I'm going to reduce that. And there's still quite a bit of congestion here on the top. And so we're just going to keep taking one bite at a time and see what we think. And they just clean up some of this stuff on the bottom. And I think, you know, already you can see it's much more simplified. We can actually see some semblance of a shape. And I really want to look at this top now, because I'm thinking of taking this what would currently be the apex off, because I think it's just kind of straight and uninteresting, and I think I want it to just be shorter. So I'm just thinking about taking that off, and I think I will. It's a little tough. I actually I should have the proper tools to do this, but I'll just make it work with this, and I think that's a bit better. But I'm going to take this diagonal off as well, and I think that's definitely an improvement for sure. Got some growth there, and I'm almost thinking about well, I'm still not happy with it. I'm going to clean this up a bit, but I'm not sure that I'm all that happy with this, because I feel like it's still just too chunky. But let me look at it here. You can hear we're on a flight path here, so you'll now that I'm working outside for the summer, you'll probably regularly hear jets and airplanes. Yeah, they basically fly right over Seattle to the airport, and much to the annoyance of my little dog, because boy, I finally got her trained where she doesn't bark when she hears them, but if she sees them in the sky, and she's always looking as soon as she hears them, she just she just lets it go. So let's see, let me cut this off. I'm still working on this top. I mean, that whole area is still just a bit thick, and there's a bit too much going on, and I really, it's going to thicken up like crazy once I get this thing back out in the sun and basically ignore it other than care for the rest of the summer. And so I want to really get it down to its basic bits, and I think I'm this chunky bit that's been bothering me here. I think we're just going to take it off, because I just don't think that's going to be helpful. That's a lot better. That's a lot better. So now, we sort of still have, take a look at it here in a minute once I clean this up, but, I still have kind of competing apexes. I have this thing off to the right and then this one behind it, but I think I can live with this, because I sort of like how what might be the apex on the right and the branch on the left are kind of in a line. Like, I think that's kind of interesting, but I'm just going to let these grow. We've already taken off quite a bit, and I'll just see where it goes, because I could take that off, but I feel like that is a bit much, and I can always take that off later. And I'm happy with this. Like, I feel like it's a good experiment to let these two apexes compete, and in any case I'll probably use a bit of the one on the left, even if I do choose the one on the right to be the major one. But I'm happy with this. I mean, I think we've really kind of improved the shape of this, and that last cut really sort of made it a place for me where I'm thinking, okay, I can stop now and let this grow and be totally fine with that. So I think that's it for this tree. We'll do kind of a mini victory tour, and you can have a look at it. And I think it turned out really well. I'm super, super happy where we ended up. And like I said, in this rough stuff, you never know where you're going to wind up. But just make yourself happy and then keep going. And, I think we left a decent amount of foliage on. Couldn't have taken much more off for sure, and we will let it grow. And now let me bring in another one. This is another little cutting I had. And I just threw it in this plastic pot. It's like a to-go cup, and I drilled some holes in the side of it. But it's been growing quite well. And, I kind of want to just prune it up a little bit, because it's looking a bit wild, and just shorten it up so I can direct the shaping. And I'll pick it up here for you. It's kind of hard to see in this cup, but I'm just kind of just taking it all back to a couple sets of leaves and get it set up so that it actually has a pleasing shape and looks like I'm going somewhere with it. I think this part in the middle here will be the new apex, and I don't want the tree to waste a lot of time growing branches I'm just going to cut off. I'd rather have it focus on what I want to keep. And right now I want that apex to shoot up so we can start developing a tree. And you can see it's quite cute. I sort of like this. And this is, one of these, almost a throwaway that I just threw in this pot. And you never know. Like sometimes the things that you value the least just really turn out to be quite charming. I think this will make a nice little mame, or maybe I'll make it as part of a forest in the future. And it's also kind of fun, you have a few of these things that you're not all that serious about growing somewhere, and you come out, and I like I said before, I like to grab like a handful of them and just prune them up. And so I think that looks good. Let's go on to the next one here. These are just cuttings I threw in here, and they've put on quite a bit of growth. It's a mix of regular ports. I got a cork bark. There's Manny on the left there. I love those sort of scallop shaped leaves, but it's pretty wild. And I'm not going to do anything special here, just kind of cut it back so I get some interesting branching. You can see I kind of had these under shade cloth, and so there's a lot of elongated growth that came out initially, and I just want to cut all this back and get some super compact tight growth and go on from there. It also makes it easier to have on the bench close to other plants. This Manny really took off. I literally it was a cutting, a tiny little leaf or a tiny little stem, and I just stuck it right in soil, indoors even, and it just kind of took off, which is kind of interesting to me because, at least for me, that variety has not grown very voraciously for me. So I was kind of surprised that this cutting is like off to the races. So I'm just gonna leave that one in here since it seems to like this environment, and let it grow. I am going to cut it back here. I think I'll just may cut these back a bit more because I don't really have any urgent need for these, and I sort of like more branching options actually. So I'll take this one back to here, and this one off on this end to sort of get some sort of a main trunk, and then this smaller trunk. And yeah, those are looking pretty good. I think I'll take the tops of these off and just get some more branching there. And I think that looks pretty good. Not going to do much more with that one. Here's a little port that I've often struggled with. This is probably, I got this at a club as a cutting, and I actually stuck it in this kind of green pot. And it's got some bending to it, It's weird, it kind of naturally did that, but I've never been happy. I've never been happy with this. And so we're just going to cut it back probably pretty hard and see what happens. It's got, it had a tough winter. This thing got attacked by mealybugs, and I didn't actually have it under the best lighting. But, you can see the trunk is getting a little character on it, and, it's got kind of a triangular shape at the top. So I haven't given up on it. But it's not one of my more favorite trees, so I think you'll just kind of prune back all this long, leggy stuff and get it ready to just grow like crazy this summer. And I'm hoping, like, outside in full sun we'll get some nice compact growth that'll help move the tree forward. I'll show you in the trunk. Oh, there's a spider in there. Yeah, got a guy who's taking up residence here. Yeah, I thought it was mites or something, but no, that's a full-on good-sized spider. I love those guys around the trees because they take care of the insects I don't care for. So I love seeing spiders. And this is already looking a little bit better. I mean, it just had a bunch of shaggy growth from the winter. You can see in this long section in the middle, I mean, it's, what is that, like an inch? I don't really like that. I'm tempted to just cut it off there, but let me just really crank back the top here, and maybe I mean, I can always cut that top, that section there is a section I don't like. I can always cut the top off later if I don't like it and regrow it, but I'll give it one more chance before I do that. But I don't really like the shape. You can see it, the tree's kind of leaning back in the pot, so I could correct the angle, but I think it's got bigger problems. I'll just prune it back here and hope for the best with the new growth. Yeah, this branch here is the problem for me. It really just is too high and too big and too fat, and it really throws off. I mean, if it were more shaped like that, I think it would at least be a more charming tree. So I think, let me just see here where I want to cut it, but I think that might be a good option. Yeah, I think I'm going to let me cut this out, because that's also just doesn't look good to me, and that's a little better, but I still think this top section, I'm just gonna shorten it back and hope that it regrows. Maybe that's enough, but I think I'll take even more off, and I'm thinking about taking it right back, actually. You know, I hate to keep quoting John Knock on some of these, but boy, if you don't like something, just get rid of it, and you know, maybe the problem will take care of itself, and if it doesn't, well, then you still have a problem that you had before. So I'm going to take it right back, and hopefully we get a tiny shoot out of there. It might, you know, actually, but I think that'll at least give the tree a chance to be something that, I mean, I'm happy to look at and take care of. Take off some of this downward facing stuff, but there's not a whole lot more I can do to this. We've kind of taken it down. I guess I could take these off the bottom, because I don't need that down there, and I don't know, I think that's an improvement. You know, we'll see. I'll put it back in the bench, and we will let it grow out, and you know, see where it goes from there. So next up I have some Gollum Jades. This was a cutting off of, I'll put a link to my Gollum Jade forest video, but this is something I didn't use in there because I wasn't that happy with the shape. But you can see it's just got these long, huge segment pieces, and it's just growing like crazy in the top. And so I'm just going to cut it back, you know, hard, and get it to be, you know, more compact, and something that's a little more charming. You know, maybe I'll use it in a forest. It's kind of nice to have, you know, a backup in case you lose a tree for some reason. But I'm going to take this off here, and you can obviously use that as a cutting if we want, and we'll let that little section there be the new apex. And I'll take this off on the left, and on the right, a simple pruning of 3 cuts. And yeah, this is super short now, but I think it'll be something. And I may actually, I may take this, I think I'll make this left side a bit shorter too. But I could take this, I don't want to cut through the wire, but yeah, I no longer really need this wire. That was when I put this cutting in here. It had no roots at all. It was literally a rootless cutting, and you can see it's grown quite well. But I think I'm going to shorten this stump on the right a bit more. Although I don't know. I mean, that the height is not bad there. Maybe I'll let it go. Well, I covered it with my thumb. I think that looks better. We're going to take it off. Yeah. Yeah, so now we've got, you can already see there's a couple of low branches on the bottom, and we'll just grow this out. And I think it'll be, you know, quite charming. Here's another one. This is sort of a triple trunk. Basically came from the same batch. I also put this in here. It had no roots, and it's grown quite well and is looking like a bush. So I tend to just cut these back and let them grow. And so we'll just take the top off and just do some rough styling. I sort of want, it's always the same rules, right? Anything that's clashing or growing across, you take off and you just kind of shorten it back to get more branching and have it be more compact and thin it out so that the light can get in there. And these things grow quite thick, so I found that these Gollum Jades really need a fair amount of regular pruning. That's looking pretty good there, and this is crossing over, so I'll take that off. And I just need to thin out this big chunky bit on the right here. It's tough to get in there. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe it's still a bit thick on that branch to the left. So I'll cut that out. Maybe a little bit more out of there. You really kind of want to make it sparse because they grow so quickly that it'll fill in before you know it. Yeah, I think that is looking quite good. Who am I kidding? This is still a bit too thick. I'm really gonna take a few more out of here and just get it down to kind of an abstract picture of how I want this to look, and I think that looks pretty good. So we've come to the end of another video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all again. Of course, I'll make a few more cuts. I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon, and I really appreciate your supporting the channel and subscribing and watching these videos. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much.